Maya Rodriguez wiped the sweat from her forehead as she carefully balanced the wooden crate of bananas on her hip. At 7 months pregnant, every step felt like a mountain to climb. The scorching Phoenix sun beat down mercilessly on the busy downtown street market, where vendors shouted over each other, competing for customers' attention. "Fresh bananas, sweet and ripe, only $3. Maya's voice cracked slightly from hours of calling out, but she forced brightness into her tone. She needed every sale. Every single dollar mattered now more than ever. People rushed past her, businessmen in crisp suits checking their phones, women in designer sunglasses window shopping, teenagers laughing in groups. Most didn't even glance her way. Those who did often wrinkled their noses or whispered behind their hands. "Look at her," Maya overheard a woman mutter to her friend. "Pregnant and selling fruit on the street, probably another welfare case." The words stung, but Maya had grown thick-skinned over the past 3 years. Since her husband Daniel died in a construction accident, leaving her alone with their daughter Sophia, she'd heard every cruel comment imaginable. And now, carrying their second child, a baby Daniel would never meet, the judgment had only intensified. "Mama, I'm tired." 8-year-old Sophia tugged at Maya's worn dress. The little girl had been helping all morning, sitting on a small stool beside the fruit stand, occasionally handing bananas to customers. "I know, mija. Just a little longer, okay?" She stroked her daughter's dark hair, guilt twisting in her stomach. Sophia should be playing with friends, not spending her Saturday helping her mother survive. A middle-aged man approached, eyeing the bananas critically. "How much?" $3 for the bunch, sir." He scoffed. "I'll give you $1.50. Maya's jaw tightened. She'd paid $2 wholesale for each bunch. "I'm sorry, sir. I can't go lower than $2.50. The man rolled his eyes. "Whatever, you'll be begging for customers by this afternoon." He walked away, leaving Maya staring after him. She glanced down at her small cash box. $43. After paying for today's inventory and the bus fare home, she'd have maybe 15 left. Not enough for Sophia's school supplies, not enough for the electric bill, not enough for anything. The baby kicked hard, and Maya placed a protective hand over her swollen belly. "I know, little one. Mama's trying." As the afternoon wore on, sales remained slow. She only sold 4 bunches, barely breaking even. Her back ached, her feet were swollen, and the baby seemed to press against every nerve ending. She needed to sit, but couldn't afford to look weak or lazy. People already judged her enough. "Miss, how much for 2 bunches?" A young woman in yoga pants stopped, actually smiling at Maya. $5 for both," Maya said hopefully. "Great!" The woman pulled out her wallet, then paused, staring at Maya's pregnant belly. Should you be standing out here all day like this?" Maya forced a smile. "I'm fine, thank you." The woman looked uncomfortable. "I mean, don't you have family or programs that could help?" There it was again, that pitying look that made Maya feel small. "I work for what I need," she said quietly but firmly. "That's enough." The woman handed over the money quickly, took her bananas, and hurried away. Maya watched her go, then counted the bills with trembling fingers. $48 now. Still not enough. By 5 o'clock, the market began to empty. Vendors packed up their unsold goods, and the crowd thinned. Maya had 3 bunches left, $6 lost if she couldn't sell them. She called out half-heartedly, her voice hoarse and exhausted. Sophia had fallen asleep on the stool, her small head resting against the fruit crate. Her heart broke looking at her. This was no life for a child. This was no life for anyone. As she bent to wake Sophia, preparing to pack up for the day, a long shadow fell across her stand. Maya looked up, squinting against the setting sun. A sleek black Mercedes had pulled up to the curb, completely out of place in this gritty part of downtown.
The driver's door opened, and a man stepped out. He was tall, probably in his mid-30s, wearing an expensive charcoal suit that probably cost more than Maya made in 6 months. His dark hair was perfectly styled, and even from several feet away, she could see the gleam of an expensive watch on his wrist. He walked towards her stand with confident, measured steps. Maya straightened instinctively, suddenly aware of her stained dress, her disheveled hair, her swollen ankles. "How much for a bunch?" His voice was deep, authoritative, the voice of someone used to being listened to. $3, sir." She kept her eyes lowered respectfully. Without hesitation, he pulled out his wallet and extracted a crisp $100 bill. "Keep the change." Maya's eyes widened. Her hands trembled as she stared at the money. $100? That was more than she usually make in 3 days. But something inside her, that stubborn pride her mother had instilled in her, that refusal to be pitied, rose up strong. "No, sir." She carefully selected the best bunch of bananas and held it out. $3. If you want to pay more, please take more bananas." His eyebrows rose in genuine surprise. And for the first time that day, someone looked at Maya, not with pity or disgust, but with something else entirely. Respect. What will the mysterious stranger do next? Will Maya's pride cost her a life-changing opportunity, or will it be the very thing that saves her? Keep reading to discover how one moment of integrity changes everything.
The man stood perfectly still, studying Maya with an intensity that made her nervous. His sharp eyes moved from her face to her pregnant belly to sleeping Sophia, then back to the money she'd refused. "You're serious," he said. It wasn't a question. "Yes, sir." Maya's voice was steady, despite her racing heart. "I don't take what I haven't earned. If you want to spend $100, take more bananas. Otherwise, $3 is the price." A slow smile spread across his face, not mocking, but genuinely intrigued. He glanced at the remaining fruit. "How many bunches do you have left?" "3, sir." "I'll take all of them." He placed the $100 bill on her wooden stand. "That should more than cover it, with extra for other expenses." Maya's hands clenched into fists. Other expenses. Code for charity. Code for I pity you. "Sir, 3 bunches is $9. Please take your change." She counted out $91 with shaking fingers and held it toward him. The man didn't take the money. Instead, he pulled out his phone and made a quick call. "Marcus, I'm going to be late for dinner. Something came up." He hung up and turned his full attention back to Maya. "What's your name?" "Maya Rodriguez, sir." "And this is your daughter?" He gestured towards Sophia, who was beginning to stir. Maya instinctively moved closer to her child, protective. "Yes. Is there something you need, sir?" "I need to understand something." He leaned against his car, crossing his arms. "You're clearly struggling. You're 7, maybe 8 months pregnant, you have a child to care for, and I'm offering you money. Money you obviously need, and you're refusing it. Why?" Maya lifted her chin. "Because I'm not a beggar. I'm a businesswoman. Small business, yes, but still a business. I charge fair prices, I work hard, and I don't take handouts." "Even when it could help your children?" The question hit like a slap. Maya's eyes burned with unshed tears, but she blinked them back. "Especially then. What kind of example would I set for my daughter if I taught her to take money she didn't earn? That the world owes her something just because life is hard?" The man was quiet for a long moment. Then he did something unexpected. He extended his hand. "Jackson Pierce." Maya hesitated, then shook his hand. His grip was firm, professional. "Nice to meet you, Mr. Pierce." "Just Jackson." He glanced at his watch. Definitely a Rolex, Maya noted, then back at Maya. "It's getting late. Can I at least give you both a ride home? You shouldn't be standing on your feet any longer."
Every alarm bell in Maya's head went off. She lived in the city long enough to know better than to trust strangers, especially wealthy ones who appeared out of nowhere with offers too good to be true. "Thank you, but no. We'll take the bus." "Maya," Jackson's voice softened, "I'm not trying to trick you or hurt you. I'm trying to help. You can video call a friend during the drive if it makes you feel safer. You can take a picture of my license plate. But please, let me do this one small thing." Sophia was fully awake now, rubbing her eyes and looking between her mother and the stranger with curiosity. "Mama?" Maya's feet were screaming in pain. Her back felt like it might break, and the bus stop was 8 blocks away. She calculated the risk against her exhaustion and made a decision. "Okay, but my friend will know exactly where we are." She pulled out her old, cracked phone and quickly texted her neighbor, Rosa. "Getting ride home from man named Jackson Pierce, black Mercedes license plate." She made a show of photographing the plate and texting it. Jackson nodded approvingly. "Smart. Your daughter is learning from a good example." 20 minutes later, they pulled up outside Maya's apartment building, a run-down complex in one of Phoenix's rougher neighborhoods. Maya saw Jackson's eyes take in the graffiti, the broken playground equipment, the iron bars on the windows. "Thank you for the ride," Maya said quickly, gathering Sophia and preparing to get out. "Wait." Jackson reached into his suit pocket and pulled out a business card. "I own a company, Pierce Global Investments. We're always looking for people with integrity and work ethic. If you're interested, come by Monday morning. I might have a position for you." Maya stared at the embossed card. Pierce Global Investments. She heard of them, one of the largest financial firms in Arizona. "Mr. Pierce, I appreciate the offer, but I'm 7 months pregnant. No one's gonna hire me right now." "I would." His eyes were serious. "If you're interested. Think about it." "Why?" The question burst out before Maya could stop it. Jackson was quiet for a long moment, his expression distant. "Because 5 years ago, I was standing in line at a coffee shop. The woman in front of me was short $1 for her order. I offered to pay. She refused, said she'd come back when she had enough. Everyone else in line was annoyed by the delay, but I was fascinated. I hired her as my executive assistant that day. She's now my director of operations." He looked directly at Maya. "Character matters, Maya. It's rare, and when I find it, I don't let it walk away." Maya clutched the business card, her mind reeling. This couldn't be real. Things like this didn't happen to people like her. "Monday morning, 9 a.m. If you show up, we'll talk. If you don't, I'll understand." As he drove away, Maya stood on the cracked sidewalk staring at the card in her hand, while Sophia tugged at her dress. "Mama, is that man going to help us?" Maya didn't know how to answer. Part of her wanted to believe in fairy tales and second chances, but life had taught her that nothing came without a price. Still, as she climbed the 3 flights of stairs to their tiny one-bedroom apartment, she couldn't help but wonder, what if this time was different? Monday morning arrives with a life-altering decision. Will Maya take the leap of faith, or will fear keep her trapped in survival mode? The answer will shock you.
Maya sat on the edge of her worn mattress at 5 a.m. Monday morning, Jackson's business card clutched between her fingers. She'd barely slept all weekend, turning the decision over and over in her mind. "You should go," Rosa said from the doorway. The 50-year-old neighbor had come over early to watch Sophia, sensing Maya needed someone to talk to. "What do you have to lose?" "My dignity," Maya whispered. "What if it's some kind of joke? Or worse, what if he expects things from me?" Rosa sat beside her, taking her hand. "Mija, I've lived 6 decades on this earth. I can tell when a man has bad intentions. That man Friday night, he had kind eyes, concerned eyes, not predator eyes. But why would he help me? Rich people don't just hand out jobs to pregnant street vendors."
Maybe he sees something in you that you don't see in yourself. Rosa squeezed her hand. Or maybe God finally decided to answer our prayers. Either way, you won't know unless you try. At 8:30, Maya stood outside the gleaming glass tower that housed Pierce Global Investments. The building seemed to touch the sky, all modern architecture and wealth. She felt impossibly small in her one nice dress, bought secondhand 3 years ago for Daniel's funeral, and still the best thing she owned. Her hand instinctively went to her belly. The baby had been active all morning, as if sensing her anxiety. "We can do this," she whispered to herself. "We can do this." The lobby was all marble floors and contemporary art that probably cost more than her entire apartment building. A security guard looked her up and down skeptically as she approached. Name? Maya Rodriguez. He made a call, his eyebrows rising in surprise. Top floor, elevators to your right. His assistant will meet you. The elevator ride seemed to take forever. Maya watched the numbers climb, 10, 20, 30, 40, until finally reaching the 52nd floor. The doors opened to reveal an elegant reception area where a professional woman in her 30s waited with a warm smile. "Maya? I'm Patricia Chen, Jackson's Director of Operations, the woman who was short $5 years ago." Maya's eyes widened in recognition of the story. "Really?" "Really?" Patricia's smile grew. "He has good instincts about people. Come, he's waiting for you." Jackson's office was enormous, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Phoenix skyline. But Maya barely noticed the view. She was too nervous, too aware of how out of place she felt. Jackson stood from behind his massive desk, immediately walking over with an extended hand. "Maya, I'm glad you came. Please sit." He gestured to a comfortable couch rather than the formal chairs across from his desk. It was a small gesture, but it helped Maya relax slightly. "I'll be honest," Maya started before he could speak. "I almost didn't come. I don't understand why you're doing this." Jackson sat across from her, leaning forward with his elbows on his knees. "Let me ask you something. What did you do before selling fruit?" "I was an administrative assistant at a small law firm. After my husband died, they let me go, said they needed someone more focused. I tried getting other office jobs, but with Sophia and no family help." She shrugged. "The fruit stand was the only thing I could manage on my own schedule." "And now you're pregnant with your second child. Your daughter needs you, but you still refuse to compromise your values." Jackson nodded slowly. "Here's what I see, Maya. Intelligence, determination, integrity, and work ethic. Those qualities are worth much more than any resume." "Mr. Pierce." "Jackson." "Jackson," Maya corrected. "I'm 7 months pregnant. In 2 months I'll need time off. What company would invest in training someone who will leave right away?" "A smart company that thinks long-term." Jackson stood and walked to his desk, returning with a folder. "I'm offering you a position as Assistant Operations Coordinator. It's primarily administrative, scheduling, communications, project tracking. Patricia will train you. The pay is $65,000 annually, with full benefits, including excellent maternity leave." Maya's heart nearly stopped. $65,000? She currently made maybe $18,000 a year on good months. This had to be a mistake. "You start at $7,500 a month, paid bi-weekly. Health insurance begins immediately. You'll get 12 weeks paid maternity leave after the baby comes. When you return, we have on-site childcare for employees." "This isn't real," Maya whispered, tears streaming down her face. "Things like this don't happen." "They do when you work for them." Jackson's voice was firm but gentle. "Maya, you've been working your entire life. You've been fighting and sacrificing and maintaining your integrity even when it would be easier to compromise. This isn't charity. This is me recognizing an asset when I see one." "But you don't even know if I can do the job." Patricia spoke up from where she'd been standing quietly near the door. I was a barista with no business experience when Jackson hired me. He invested in my potential, not just my resume. Now, I oversee operations for a company that manages $3 billion in assets. He sees something in you, Maya. The question is, do you see it in yourself? Maya looked down at her hands, trembling in her lap. Her whole life, she'd been told she wasn't enough. Not educated enough, not connected enough, not lucky enough. She'd survived by keeping her expectations low and her pride intact. But what if she could do more than survive? What if she could actually live? "When would I start?" asked Maya quietly. Jackson smiled. "How about right now? Patricia can show you your office." "My office? You didn't think we'd make a pregnant woman work in a cubicle, did you?" Jackson stood, extending his hand once more. "Welcome to Pierce Global Investments, Maya. I have a feeling you're going to exceed both our expectations." As Maya shook his hand, still in shock, she had no idea how right he was, or how much her life was about to transform. Maya's first day becomes a series of overwhelming surprises and a shocking confrontation that threatens everything. You won't believe what happens next.
Maya's office was actually a beautiful workspace with glass walls, a large desk, and a window view. It wasn't enormous, but compared to selling fruit on street corners, it felt like a palace. "This is too much," Maya breathed, running her hand along the smooth desk surface. Patricia laughed. "Wait until you see the break room. We have a full kitchen, comfortable seating areas, and yes, free coffee that's actually good." For the next 3 hours, Patricia walked Maya through her new responsibilities. Despite her nervousness, Maya found herself understanding the work quickly. It was similar to her old job, just on a much larger scale and with far better technology. "You're catching on fast," Patricia observed, as Maya successfully navigated the company's scheduling system. "Most people take days to figure out that program." "I used something similar at the law firm, just older software." Around noon, Patricia insisted they take a lunch break. In the employee cafeteria, another luxury Maya couldn't believe, they sat at a quiet table. "Can I ask you something personal about your husband?" Maya tensed but nodded. She was used to the question by now. "Daniel died 3 years ago. Construction accident. One minute he was fine, the next—" She stopped, swallowing hard. "I was 4 months pregnant with Sophia when we married. His family never approved, said I trapped him. When he died, they blamed me somehow, said I was bad luck." "And the baby you're carrying now?" "I found out I was pregnant a month after he died." Maya's hand went to her belly protectively. "The pregnancy was a surprise, but not an unwelcome one. It's like having one last piece of him." Patricia reached across the table and squeezed her hand. "Your strength is remarkable." "I don't feel strong. Most days I feel like I'm barely hanging on." "That's what strength is, Maya. It's not feeling confident, it's continuing anyway." They were interrupted by raised voices near the cafeteria entrance. Maya looked up to see a woman in an expensive designer suit pointing at something on her phone while speaking heatedly to a nervous-looking young man. "That's Victoria Ashford," Patricia said quietly, her expression darkening. "Jackson's ex-fiancée. She works in mergers and acquisitions. Beautiful, brilliant, and absolutely ruthless." Maya watched as Victoria dismissed the young man with a wave of her hand, her perfectly manicured nails flashing. Everything about her screamed wealth and power, from her styled blonde hair to her shoes that probably cost more than Maya's monthly rent. "They were engaged?" Maya asked, trying to keep her voice neutral. "For 2 years. She broke it off 6 months ago when she got a better offer from a British financer. Ironic thing, he dumped her 3 months later, and now she's trying to get Jackson back." "Does he want her back?" Patricia snorted. "Jackson wants honesty and integrity. Victoria wants power and status. They were never going to work." She paused. "She's also incredibly territorial about this company. She didn't make partner on merit alone. Her father sits on our board, so watch yourself around her."
As if sensing she was being discussed, Victoria's gaze swept the cafeteria and landed on our table. Her eyes narrowed when she saw Maya, and she began walking towards them with purposeful strides. "Patricia," Victoria said coolly, completely ignoring Maya's presence, "I heard we hired someone new today. Rather sudden, wasn't it?" "Maya Rodriguez, this is Victoria Ashford." Patricia's voice was professional but frosty. "Maya is our new assistant operations coordinator." For the first time, Victoria looked directly at Maya, her gaze moving from face to belly with undisguised contempt. "How progressive of us. I wasn't aware we'd lowered our hiring standards quite so dramatically." Maya felt her face flush hot, but she kept her expression neutral. She dealt with enough cruel people to know how to hide her emotions. "Maya came highly recommended. Jackson personally hired her." Something flickered in Victoria's eyes. Anger, jealousy, calculation. "Did he now? How interesting." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Well, welcome aboard, Maya. I hope you find our work environment suitable for your condition." The way she said condition made it clear she thought pregnancy was something shameful. After Victoria glided away, Patricia sighed. "I'm sorry about that. It's fine," Maya interrupted, though our hands were shaking slightly. "I've heard worse." "That doesn't make it okay." Patricia's expression was fierce. "If she gives you any trouble, document it and tell me or Jackson immediately. Her father's influence only goes so far." The rest of the day passed in a blur of training, paperwork, and information overload. By 5 p.m., Maya's brain felt like it had run a marathon. But she'd done it, survived her first day. As she gathered her things to leave, there was a knock on her office door. Jackson stood there with an envelope. "Your first paycheck," he said, handing it to her. "Well, in advance. Normally you'd wait 2 weeks, but I figured you could use it now." Maya opened the envelope and nearly dropped it. $3,000. "This is too much." "It's exactly right. 2 weeks of salary minus taxes. Maya, you work for me now. That means you get paid fairly and on time. No more living day to day." Tears blurred her vision. $3,000. She could pay rent for months, buy Sophia proper school supplies, get food that wasn't the cheapest option, maybe even afford prenatal vitamins. "Thank you," she whispered. "You have no idea what this means." "I think I do," Jackson smiled. "Go home, rest. Tomorrow we'll get you set up with direct deposit and benefits enrollment. Your insurance card should arrive within a week." As Maya rode the bus home that evening, one of the last times she'd need to take public transportation, she realized, she clutched the check and allowed herself to believe something she hadn't believed in years. Maybe, just maybe, things were finally going to be okay. But she had no idea that Victoria Ashford was already plotting to destroy her.
Maya's second week at Pierce Global started smoothly. She fell into a comfortable routine. Up at 6, Sophia off to school, arrive at the office by 8. The work was challenging but manageable, and Patricia proved to be an excellent mentor. "You're doing great," Patricia said Friday afternoon as they reviewed Maya's project tracking reports. "I'm actually impressed. Most people take a month to get this organized." Maya smiled, allowing herself a moment of pride. For the first time in years, she felt like she was using her brain for more than just surviving. She was learning, growing, contributing something meaningful. But success always came with a price. Victoria had been watching. She'd noticed how quickly Maya had integrated into the team, how the other employees had warmed to her despite her background. She'd especially noticed how Jackson occasionally stopped by Maya's office to check on her, making sure she wasn't overworking herself in her condition. That Friday evening, Victoria made her move. "Maya, do you have a moment?" Victoria appeared at her office door, her expression uncharacteristically pleasant. Maya looked up warily. Since their cafeteria encounter, Victoria had ignored her completely. "Of course, what do you need?" "I'm working on a time-sensitive merger proposal that Jackson needs first thing Monday morning. My assistant is out sick, and I'm drowning." Victoria sighed dramatically.
I know you're still new, but Patricia mentioned you're excellent with databases. Would you mind staying late to help me compile some financial reports? Every instinct told Maya to refuse, but refusing a senior partner's request on her second week, that seemed like career suicide. What time would you need me? Is 7 too late? I know you have a daughter to get home to. The consideration seemed genuine. Maybe Maya had misjudged her. 7 works. I'll call my neighbor to watch Sophia. Perfect. Conference room B, 7th floor. I really appreciate this. After Victoria left, Maya called Rosa to arrange childcare, pushing aside her nagging doubts. This was a good opportunity to prove herself, she rationalized, to show she was a team player. At 7 p.m., Maya took the elevator to the 7th floor. The executive level was eerily quiet, most employees having left hours ago. Her footsteps echoed as she walked to conference room B. The room was dark. Maya flipped on the lights and found it empty. No Victoria, no files, no work. Confused, she checked her phone. No messages, no updates. She was about to leave when she noticed a folder on the conference table. Curious, she opened it. Her blood ran cold. Inside were financial documents, confidential merger information, client account details, proprietary trading strategies, the kind of information that companies protected fiercely, the kind of information that could destroy Pierce Global if it fell into wrong hands. And at the bottom of the pile was a flash drive labeled Confidential Wilcox Merger. Maya's hands trembled as she realized what this was. A setup. The door suddenly burst open. Jackson stood there with Victoria right behind him, along with 2 security guards, and Maya's heart sank, the head of HR, Marcus Bennett. "What's going on?" Maya's voice came out shaky despite her attempt at calm. "That's what I'd like to know." Jackson's expression was cold, professional, the warmest she'd seen since they met. "We received a report that you accessed restricted files without authorization." "What? No, Maya gestured helplessly at the folder. "Victoria asked me to help her with a project. I came here and found this." "That's a lie," Victoria said, her voice dripping with false sadness. "I caught her in my office 2 hours ago, downloading files to that flash drive. She ran before I could stop her. When I alerted security, they tracked her here." "That's not true. I was in my office until just now. Check the security cameras." "We did," Marcus Bennett said, stepping forward with a tablet. He showed Maya footage of someone in dark clothing entering Victoria's office, clearly downloading files to a flash drive. The person's face wasn't visible, but their body shape was similar to Maya's, especially the pregnant belly. "That's not me," Maya whispered. "I swear, that's not me." "This timestamp shows this footage from 6:15 p.m. Your security badge was used to access Victoria's office at exactly that time." "But I was—" Maya tried to remember. She'd been in the bathroom around then, having left her badge on her desk. Anyone could have taken it. "This is a serious accusation," Jackson said, his voice carefully neutral. He looked at Maya, and she couldn't read his expression. Was that disappointment? Doubt? "Do I know you, Maya? We've known each other 2 weeks." The words hit like a physical blow. All those moments, his kindness, the job offer, the faith he'd shown in her, suddenly felt like a cruel joke. He didn't believe her. "You gave her too much trust too quickly," Victoria said softly, placing a hand on Jackson's arm. "I know you want to see the best in people, but sometimes—" She trailed off meaningfully. Maya wanted to scream, to protest her innocence, but she could see it was useless. The evidence was perfectly arranged against her. Victoria had planned this meticulously. "I think we need to continue this conversation Monday morning with legal present. Maya, you're suspended pending investigation. Please surrender your badge and leave the premises." Maya's hands shook as she removed her ID badge from around her neck. She looked one more time at Jackson, silently pleading with him to believe her, to remember who she was. But his expression remained closed, professional, distant. As security escorted her to collect her personal items and leave the building, Maya realized with devastating clarity she'd been set up perfectly.
and she had no idea how to prove her innocence.
Maya sat in her dark apartment, staring at the wall. Sophia was asleep, unaware that her mother's miracle job had evaporated in a single evening. The check from her first 2 weeks, money she'd already mentally allocated to bills and Sophia's needs, would likely be her last. Rosa sat beside her, holding her hand. "Mija, we need to think. Who would do this to you?" "Victoria Ashford." Maya's voice was hollow. "Jackson's ex-fiancée. She's hated me from the moment I arrived." "Can you prove it?" "No, she's too smart for that. Everything points to me." Maya placed a hand on her belly as the baby kicked. "What am I going to do? I can't go back to the fruit stand like this. I'm too far along. And after Monday, I'll probably be facing criminal charges." "We pray," Rosa said firmly, "and we trust that the truth will come out." Maya wanted to believe her, but life had taught her that truth didn't always win. Money and power usually did. She spent the weekend in a fog of despair, barely eating, unable to sleep. By Monday morning, she felt hollowed out, but she forced herself to get dressed. If she was going down, she'd go down with dignity. The meeting was scheduled at 9 a.m. in the main conference room. Maya arrived 10 minutes early, her hands clasped protectively over her belly. Marcus Bennett from HR was already there, along with 2 lawyers she didn't recognize. Victoria sat across the table looking professionally concerned, the perfect picture of a colleague worried about corporate security. Jackson arrived last, his expression unreadable. He didn't look at Maya as he took his seat at the head of the table. "Let's begin," Marcus said, opening his folder. "Maya Rodriguez, you're here to respond to allegations of corporate espionage and theft of proprietary information. Do you have legal representation?" "I can't afford a lawyer, but I don't need one because I didn't do anything wrong." "The evidence suggests otherwise," one of the company lawyers said, sliding copies of the security footage across the table. "Your badge was used to access restricted areas. You were found with confidential documents. What's your explanation?" Maya took a deep breath. "My badge was taken from my desk while I was in the bathroom around 6:15. They used it to access Victoria's office and download those files. Then Victoria texted me asking for help on a project, leading me to the conference room where those documents were planted. It was a setup." "That's a serious accusation," Victoria said, her voice perfectly calibrated to sound hurt. "Why would I frame you?" "Because you want me gone." Maya finally looked directly at her. "You hated me since I started. You see me as beneath you, and you especially hate that Jackson hired me." "This is absurd," Victoria scoffed. "I have no reason to risk my career over some—" She caught herself, but everyone heard the unspoken word. "Over some what?" Maya's voice was steel. "Some poor woman? Some pregnant street vendor? Say it, Victoria." The room fell silent. Jackson's eyes had sharpened, watching the exchange carefully. Before Victoria could respond, there was a knock on the conference room door. Patricia entered, her expression urgent. "I'm sorry to interrupt, but this can't wait." "Patricia, we're in the middle of—" Patricia started. "I know, that's why I'm here." Patricia held up her phone. "I have evidence that changes everything." Victoria's face went pale for just a fraction of a second, but Maya caught it. Patricia connected her phone to the conference room display. "Friday evening, I stayed late working on the quarterly reports. Around 6:15, I took a break and went to the 7th floor break room. I saw something odd, so I recorded it on my phone." She pressed play. The video showed the 7th floor hallway. After a moment, a figure emerged from Victoria's office, a woman in dark clothing, pregnant, carrying a flash drive. But as the woman turned slightly, the light hit her face.
It wasn't Maya. It was a woman Maya had never seen before, but she was wearing a fake pregnancy belly that was obvious on camera, and in the brief moment her face was visible, it was clear she was following instructions via an earpiece. "Keep watching," Patricia said. The video continued. The mysterious woman walked down the hallway and entered the ladies' room. Moments later, she emerged.
The story of Victoria's attempted frame-up spread through Pierce Global Investments like wildfire. By Tuesday morning, Maya couldn't walk through the office without people stopping to congratulate her or express their support. It was overwhelming and uncomfortable. She'd never been good with attention. "You're a legend now," Patricia said with a grin as they grabbed coffee in the break room. "The woman who took down Victoria Ashford." "I didn't do anything," Maya protested. "You're the one who saved me." "You survived her attack with your integrity intact. That's everything." Patricia's expression grew more serious. "Between you and me, Victoria's been toxic for years. People were afraid to speak up because of her father's position on the board. Now that she's gone, you've given others courage to come forward with their own stories." Maya hadn't considered that. She'd been so focused on her own survival that she hadn't thought about how her situation might help others. That afternoon, she had a meeting with Jackson to discuss her continued role in the company. She knocked on his office door at exactly 2 p.m., her heart racing despite telling herself everything was fine now. "Come in," Jackson called. She entered to find him at his desk reviewing documents. He looked up and smiled, a genuine smile that reached his eyes. "Maya, please, sit. How are you feeling?" "Honestly, exhausted, relieved, still a bit shaken." She settled into the chair across from him, one hand unconsciously resting on her belly. "But I'm here." "About that," Jackson set down his pen, "I want to make something clear. What happened with Victoria was inexcusable, and the fact that I didn't immediately shut down the accusation must have hurt you deeply. For that, I'm truly sorry." "You explained why you did it," Maya said quietly. "I understand the strategy, even if it was painful." "Understanding doesn't erase the pain." He leaned forward. "Maya, I hired you because I saw something special in you. Integrity, intelligence, determination. Nothing about the last few days has changed that. In fact, the way you handled yourself under pressure only confirmed my initial assessment." "Thank you," Maya said, feeling warmth spread through her chest. "However," Jackson continued, "I'm concerned about your stress levels. You're nearly 8 months pregnant. You've just been through a traumatic ordeal, and you're working full-time. I want you to consider taking early maternity leave." Maya's stomach dropped. "You're firing me?" "What? No." Jackson looked horrified. "I'm suggesting you take paid time off to rest and prepare for the baby. Your job will be here when you return." "I can't afford to stop working," Maya said automatically. "I need every paycheck." "Maya, you'll be on full pay during maternity leave. That's part of your benefits package." Jackson's voice was gentle. "I'm not trying to push you out. I'm trying to take care of you." The words hit Maya unexpectedly hard. When was the last time someone had tried to take care of her? Since Daniel died, it had always been her taking care of everyone else. "I'll think about it," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "That's all I ask. There's something else. Victoria's father, Richard Ashford, is still on our board. He's furious about what happened, and he's demanding Victoria be given a second chance." Maya's blood ran cold. "Can he do that?" "He can make noise, but he doesn't have the power to override my decision as CEO. However, he does have influence with some of our investors. He's threatening to cause problems if we prosecute Victoria." "So she might get away with it?" Maya couldn't keep the bitterness in her voice. "Not if I have anything to say about it." Jackson's expression hardened. "But I wanted you to be aware. The Ashford family has resources and connections. This might not be over." Maya left his office feeling unsettled. Just when she thought she could breathe, a new threat emerged. She tried to focus on work for the rest of the afternoon, but anxiety gnawed at her.
By 5 p.m., she was gathering her things when Patricia appeared at her door. "Maya, can we talk?" "Of course." Patricia closed the door and sat down. "I heard Jackson told you about Richard Ashford's threats." "News travels fast. Always does." Patricia folded her hands. "I want you to know that you're not alone in this. Whatever happens, we have your back. Jackson, me, and a lot of other people in this company. The Ashfords might have money, but we have truth on our side." "Truth doesn't always win," Maya said quietly. "Maybe not always, but it should, and we're going to fight to make sure it does this time." Maya felt tears prick her eyes again. She seemed to cry at everything lately. Pregnancy hormones mixed with stress made her emotional. "Why are you all being so kind to me? I'm nobody special." "That's where you're wrong," Patricia's voice was firm. "You're someone who maintained your principles even when it cost her. You're someone who worked herself to exhaustion to provide for her daughter. You're someone who refused charity but accepted opportunity. Maya, you're exactly the kind of person who deserves kindness." That night, as Maya rode the bus home, she thought about everything that had happened. 2 weeks ago, she was selling bananas on a street corner, invisible to most of the world. Now she had a real job, people who believed in her, and a chance at an actual future. But she also had enemies, powerful enemies who wanted to destroy her. When she got home, Rosa was watching Sophia, who was doing homework at the kitchen table. Her daughter looked up and smiled. "Mama, how was work?" Maya looked at her beautiful girl, so innocent, so trusting that her mother would always keep her safe. She thought about the baby growing inside her, about the life she was trying to build for both of them. "Work was good, mija. Everything's going to be okay." She had to believe that, because the alternative, that she might lose everything she'd fought so hard for, was too terrifying to consider. But danger was closer than Maya realized, and it would strike when she least expected it. Just as Maya starts to feel secure, a medical emergency puts both her and her baby in mortal danger. What happens next will leave you in tears.
Maya woke up Thursday morning with a strange feeling. It wasn't quite pain, more like pressure, intense pressure that radiated from her abdomen through her entire body. She glanced at the clock, 3:47 a.m. "It's too early," she whispered to her belly. "You're not due for another month, little one. We need more time." But the baby seemed to have other plans. Over the next hour, the pressure intensified, coming in waves that took her breath away. By 5 a.m., Maya knew something was wrong. These weren't Braxton Hicks contractions. This was early labor. She called Rosa, trying to keep her voice calm so she wouldn't wake Sophia. "I need to go to the hospital. Can you come stay with Sophia?" "Mija, it's too early. Are you sure?" "I'm sure. Please hurry." Rosa arrived within 15 minutes, her face creased with worry. "I'm calling Jackson." "No," Maya protested. "He's my boss, not my family. I can't bother him with this." "Maya Rodriguez, you stubborn woman, that man cares about you. He needs to know." But Maya was already out the door, hailing a cab she couldn't really afford. The ride to St. Joseph's Hospital was a blur of pain and fear. She checked herself into the emergency room at 6:23 a.m., barely able to stand. "I'm only 35 weeks," she told the nurse through gritted teeth. "Something's wrong." The nurse's expression shifted from routine to urgent. Within minutes, Maya was in a labor and delivery room with monitors strapped to her belly, doctors examining her with concerned expressions. "Mrs. Rodriguez," Dr. Sarah Chen said gently, "your blood pressure is dangerously high, 180 over 110. Combined with protein in your urine in the early labor, we believe you have severe preeclampsia." "What does that mean?" Maya's voice was small, frightened. "It means your life and your baby's life are at risk. We need to deliver now, via emergency C-section." "But the baby's too early. Can't you stop the labor? Give me steroids or—" "The baby is safer outside than inside right now.
Dr. Chen interrupted gently. I know this is scary, but we need to move fast. Do you have anyone we can call? Maya thought of Sophia, still sleeping peacefully, not knowing her mother might die. She thought of her parents, dead 5 years. She thought of Daniel, who should have been here holding her hand. No, she whispered. There's no one. It's 7:15 a.m. Jackson was in his home gym when his phone rang. He almost didn't answer. He was in the middle of his workout routine, but something made him pick up. Mr. Pierce? This is Rosa Martinez, Maya Rodriguez's neighbor. I got your number from the employee directory. I hope that's okay. Rosa? What's wrong? Jackson immediately stopped what he was doing, his heart rate spiking for reasons that had nothing to do with exercise. Maya's at St. Joseph's Hospital, emergency C-section. She's alone, Mr. Pierce. She has no one there with her. Jackson was already grabbing his keys. I'm on my way. What room? Labor and delivery, 4th floor. Please hurry. She wouldn't let me call you, but I know she needs someone. Jackson made the 20-minute drive in 12 minutes, barely obeying traffic laws. He burst through the hospital doors and took the stairs 2 at the time to the 4th floor, his heart pounding. Maya Rodriguez, he gasped to the nurse at the desk. Where is she? Are you family? Jackson hesitated. What was he? Her employer? Her friend? Something more? I'm the closest thing she has to family right now. Please. The nurse studied him for a moment, then nodded towards a set of double doors. OR3, but you'll have to wait. She's in surgery. Jackson sank into a waiting room chair, his mind racing. He'd known Maya less than a month, but the thought of losing her made his chest ache in a way he'd never experienced, not even with Victoria, who he'd been with for 2 years. This was different. Maya was different. 30 minutes later, a doctor emerged. Family of Maya Rodriguez? Jackson jumped up. Yes. How is she? We delivered a baby boy via emergency C-section. He's small, 4 pounds, 6 ounces, but breathing on his own. He's a fighter, just like his mother. Maya, tears streamed down her cheeks. Daniel. I want to name him Daniel after his father. Daniel Rodriguez. It's perfect. Jackson brushed a tear from her cheek with his thumb. How are you feeling? Like I got hit by a truck. She tried to smile but winced. You didn't have to come? Yes, I did. Jackson's voice was firm. Maya, I need to tell you something, and I know the timing is terrible, but I can't keep it inside anymore. Jackson, I'm falling in love with you. The words tumbled out, urgent and honest. I know it's too soon. I know it's complicated. But when Rosa called this morning and I thought I might lose you, Maya, I can't pretend anymore. You matter to me, not as an employee, but as a woman I admire, respect, and care about deeply. Maya stared at him, tears continuing to flow. I'm a mess, Jackson. A widow with 2 kids, no money, no education, barely holding it together. Why would you want that? Because you're you. Because you're real. Because when I'm with you, I don't feel like a billionaire CEO. I feel like a man who's found something precious. He squeezed her hand. You don't have to say anything right now. I just needed you to know. Maya closed her eyes, more tears escaping. When she opened them again, there was something vulnerable and hopeful in their depths. I feel it too, she whispered. I tried not to, but I do. Jackson felt his heart expand in his chest. He leaned forward and gently kissed Maya's forehead. Then we'll figure it out together, one day at a time. Can I see him, Daniel? Let me ask the doctor. 20 minutes later, a nurse wheeled Maya's bed to the NCIU viewing window. Behind the glass, in a small incubator, lay a tiny baby boy with dark hair and his mother's features. He was so small, so fragile, but his little chest rose and fell with steady determination. He's beautiful,
Jackson said, standing beside Maya's wheelchair. "He's a miracle," Maya whispered. "My little miracle." As they watched baby Daniel sleep, neither of them noticed the figure watching them from down the hallway, a figure who would soon make their happiness much more complicated. The Ashford family's revenge is about to unfold in the most devastating way, and Maya's past is about to collide with her present in a shocking revelation.
Maya spent 4 days in the hospital recovering from the C-section. Jackson visited every day, bringing Sophia to see her mother and new baby brother. Patricia came with flowers and home-cooked meals. Even some of Maya's co-workers from Pierce Global stopped by with gifts and well wishes. For the first time in years, Maya didn't feel alone. Little Daniel thrived in the NICU, gaining weight steadily and breathing perfectly on his own. The doctors said if he continued improving, he could go home in 2 weeks. Sophia was smitten with her baby brother, pressing her face to the NICU glass for hours, talking to him through the barrier. "He's so tiny, Mama," Sophia said, her eyes wide with wonder. "Will he stay this small forever?" Maya laughed, the first genuine laugh since the surgery. "No, mija, he'll grow big and strong, just like you." On her 4th day in the hospital, Maya was sitting up in bed, finally feeling somewhat human again, when an unfamiliar woman entered her room. She was in her 50s, impeccably dressed in a designer suit with sharp features and cold blue eyes. "Maya Rodriguez?" the woman asked, though her tone suggested she already knew the answer. "Yes, can I help you?" The woman closed the door behind her and approached the bed with deliberate steps. "My name is Catherine Ashford, Victoria's mother." Maya's body tensed. "I have nothing to say to you." "Oh, but I have plenty to say to you." Catherine's smile was sharp as a knife. "You destroyed my daughter's career. You seduced Jackson Pierce, a man who was supposed to marry into our family, and you've made fools of the Ashford name." "Your daughter tried to frame me for corporate espionage? I did nothing except defend myself." "Your daughter made a mistake in how she handled you, but her instincts were correct." Catherine moved closer, looming over the hospital bed. "You're a gold digger, plain and simple, a poor widow with 2 children latching on to a billionaire. Did you plan the pregnancy, a convenient way to trap him?" The accusation was so absurd and cruel that Maya actually laughed. "I was 7 months pregnant when I met Jackson. Unless he has supernatural powers, your math doesn't work." Catherine's expression darkened. "Don't play games with me, girl. I know women like you. You might have Jackson fooled now, but eventually he'll see through your act, and when he does, you'll have nothing. No job, no money, no future." "Get out." Maya's voice was ice. "Get out of my room now, or I'll call security." "I'm leaving, but remember this. The Ashfords don't forget, and we don't forgive. You think you've won, but this is far from over." Catherine turned and walked toward the door, then paused. "Oh, and one more thing. I've already spoken to several members of Pierce Global's board. They're not as enamored with Jackson's little charity project as he is. How long do you think your job will last when the board starts asking questions?" After Catherine left, Maya sat trembling in her bed. She reached for her phone and called Jackson, her fingers shaking so badly she almost dropped it. He answered on the first ring. "Maya, what's wrong?" "Victoria's mother was just here. She threatened me, said the board is going to—" "I'm coming there now. Don't worry about Catherine Ashford. She has no power over you or your job." But 20 minutes later, when Jackson arrived, his expression was troubled. "What is it?" Maya asked, reading his face. Jackson sat on the edge of her bed, taking her hand. "I won't lie to you. Catherine did speak to some board members. Richard Ashford is pushing hard for an investigation into our hiring practices, specifically about you." "I'm going to lose my job." It wasn't a question. "No, Maya, you're not losing your job, but
I need to ask you something, and I need complete honesty. Maya's heart sank. What? Richard been digging into your background. He's claiming there are irregularities in your employment history, gaps that don't make sense. Jackson pulled out his phone and showed her a document. This is your application from the law firm where you worked before. It says you left voluntarily to pursue other opportunities, but when Richard contacted them, they said you were terminated for cause. Maya felt the blood drain from her face. That's not the whole story. Then tell me the whole story, please. Maya took a shaky breath, tears already forming. This was the part of her past she'd hoped to never discuss, the shame she'd carried for 3 years. I was terminated because I reported my supervisor for sexual harassment. Mark Brennan, the senior partner's nephew, he'd been inappropriate for months, touching me, making comments. When I finally reported it, they said I was making it up for attention, said I was trying to extort money from the firm. Her voice broke. They fired me and blacklisted me. That's why I couldn't get another office job. That's why I ended up selling fruit on the street. Jackson's jaw tightened, anger flashing in his eyes. Maya, why didn't you tell me this during your interview? Would you have hired me if you knew? A woman accused of lying about harassment? She wiped her tears. I was desperate, Jackson. I needed work. I thought if I could just prove myself, it wouldn't matter. Of course I would have hired you, especially knowing you stood up for yourself even when it cost you everything. Jackson cupped her face gently. Maya, you did nothing wrong. Nothing. Richard Ashford is going to use this against me, isn't he? Jackson's silence was answer enough. The board meets in 3 days. They're calling a special session to review your employment. Maya, I'm going to fight for you. I'm going to fight with everything I have, but I need you to trust me. I do trust you. I'm just scared that trust won't be enough. Jackson leaned forward and kissed her forehead softly. Then let me be scared enough for both of us. You just focus on recovering and taking care of Daniel. Let me handle the Ashfords. As he left, Maya lay back against her pillows, staring at the ceiling. She'd been through so much. Poverty, widowhood, humiliation, and betrayal. She'd survived it all through sheer determination. But this felt different. This felt like the fight she might actually lose. In the NICU down the hall, baby Daniel slept peacefully, unaware that her mother's entire future hung in the balance. The board meeting arrives, and shocking testimony changes everything. What gets revealed will leave you speechless.
Maya was discharged from the hospital on Monday morning, exactly 1 day before the board meeting that would determine her fate. Baby Daniel had to stay in the NICU for another week, which broke Maya's heart, but the doctors assured her he was thriving. Jackson had arranged for a car service to take her home, along with a nurse who would check on her twice daily during recovery. Maya protested the expense, but Jackson was adamant. You just had major surgery, he said firmly. You need help, and I'm going to make sure you get it. That night, Maya barely slept. Her laying in bed, her C-section incision aching, her mind racing through every possible scenario for tomorrow. She'd prepared a statement defending herself, but what could she really say? The Ashfords had money, power, and connections. She had nothing but the truth. And as she'd learned 3 years ago, the truth didn't always win. Tuesday morning arrived too quickly. Jackson had told her she didn't need to attend the board meeting, that he would represent her interests, but Maya refused to hide. Whatever happened, she would face it with dignity. Patricia picked her up at 8 a.m., helping her move carefully toward the car. You shouldn't be doing this, Patricia fretted. You're supposed to be recovering. I need to be there. They're discussing my life. I deserve to be present. At Pierce Global Headquarters, the tension was palpable. Employees whispered in hallways, everyone aware that today's board meeting was about more than just one employee. It was about what kind of company they wanted to be. The boardroom was on the 52nd floor,
a massive space with a long mahogany table surrounded by leather chairs. When Maya entered, supported by Patricia, every head turned. Richard Ashford sat at the far end, his expression smug. Beside him was Catherine, and to Maya's shock, Victoria herself, dressed impeccably, showing no sign of shame despite being fired for corporate espionage. "What is she doing here?" Maya whispered to Jackson, who had come to help her to a chair. Jackson, his jaw tight. Richard demanded she be allowed to present her side. I couldn't block it without looking like I was hiding something. The board chairman, Douglas, no relation to Marcus from HR, called the meeting to order. "We're here to discuss the employment of Maya Rodriguez and concerns raised by board member Richard Ashford regarding her hiring and conduct. Richard, you called this meeting. Please present your concerns." Richard stood, every inch a powerful businessman. "Thank you, Douglas. As you all know, my daughter Victoria was recently terminated under disturbing circumstances. But during the investigation into those events, some troubling information came to light about Miss Rodriguez." He clicked the remote, and a presentation appeared on the screen behind him. Maya's stomach churned as she saw documents from her past, her termination letter from the law firm, statements from her former employer, even photos of her selling fruit on the street. Miss Rodriguez was fired from her previous employment for falsely accusing a respected attorney of sexual harassment, an accusation that was thoroughly investigated and found to be completely fabricated. She then spent years working under the table, paying no taxes, before somehow convincing our CEO to give her a high-paying position with no relevant qualifications. He paused for effect, looking around the room. "I believe Jackson Pierce's judgment has been compromised. Miss Rodriguez is an opportunist who saw a wealthy, lonely man and decided to exploit him. The timing of her employment, followed by her immediate involvement in my daughter's termination, suggests a calculated agenda." "That's not true," Maya said, her voice stronger than she felt. She stood slowly, ignoring the pain from her incision. "May I speak?" Douglas looked uncertain. "Miss Rodriguez, you're not required to." "I want to." Maya faced the board, her hands trembling, but her voice steady. "Everything Mr. Ashford said is technically accurate, but deliberately misleading. Yes, I was fired from the law firm, but not because I lied about harassment, because I refused to stay silent about it. Mark Brennan harassed me for months. When I reported it, the firm chose to protect their senior partner's nephew over a low-level assistant." "Do you have proof?" Richard challenged. "I have emails, text messages, and witness statements from other women he harassed. I didn't bring them to this meeting because I didn't know I'd need to defend my entire past." Maya's eyes blazed. "But I can provide them. The question is, will you actually look at evidence, or have you already decided I'm guilty?" The room fell silent. Then Victoria stood, her expression perfectly crafted, sad, regretful, sympathetic. "I'd like to apologize. What happened between Miss Rodriguez and me got out of hand. I made mistakes, and I take full responsibility. But I think we need to ask ourselves, is someone with Miss Rodriguez's background really the right fit for this company?" "What do you mean by background?" Patricia stood up, her voice sharp. "Please be specific." Victoria hesitated, realizing she'd walked into a trap. "I simply mean..." "You mean she's poor. You mean she struggled to survive after her husband died. You mean she did honest work selling fruit instead of taking welfare." Patricia looked around the room. "Let me tell you what I see when I look at Maya Rodriguez."
3 months later, Maya stood in the nursery of her new apartment, not the rundown place she'd lived in before, but a modest 2-bedroom that Jackson had helped her find in a safe neighborhood. Baby Daniel slept peacefully in his crib, finally healthy and home where he belonged. Sophia was thriving in her new school, making friends and bringing home artwork that Maya proudly displayed on the refrigerator. For the first time in years, life felt stable, almost normal. Maya had returned to work 2 weeks ago, and true to Jackson's word, her job was waiting for her. Patricia had been wonderful, easing her back into responsibilities and helping her navigate the challenges of being a working mother. And Jackson had become something more than a boss, more than a friend. They hadn't officially labeled their relationship, but he came for dinner 3 times a week, played with Sophia and Daniel, brought groceries when Maya forgot to shop, and held her hand during late-night conversations on the couch. It felt too good to be true, and as Maya had learned, when something felt too good to be true, it usually was. On a Thursday afternoon, Maya was organizing files in her office when her phone buzzed with a call from an unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. "Maya Rodriguez?" A woman's voice, unfamiliar. "Yes, who's calling?" "My name is Jennifer Chen. I'm an investigative journalist with the Phoenix Tribune. I'm working on a story about construction industry corruption, and your late husband's name came up in my research. I was hoping we could talk." Maya's blood ran cold. "My husband died 3 years ago in an accident. What does that have to do with corruption?" There was a pause. "Mrs. Rodriguez, I don't want to do this over the phone. Can we meet today, if possible? I think there are things you deserve to know." Against her better judgment, Maya agreed to meet Jennifer at a coffee shop near the office. When she arrived, the journalist was already there, a woman in her 40s with kind eyes but a serious expression. "Thank you for meeting me," said the journalist as Maya sat down. "I know this must be confusing." "Confusing and frightening," Maya admitted. "What does my husband have to do with your investigation?" Jennifer pulled out a folder. "I've been investigating a construction company called Bridgemont Development. They've been involved in several incidents, safety violations, fraudulent billing, even a few suspicious deaths ruled as accidents." Maya's blood ran cold. "Daniel worked for Bridgemont, but he was just a foreman. He didn't have anything to do with company decisions." "I know, and I don't think your husband did anything wrong." Jennifer's voice was gentle. "But I think his death might not have been an accident." The words hit Maya like a physical blow. "What?" "Daniel died when scaffolding collapsed, correct? The investigation ruled it was faulty equipment. But I've found evidence that Bridgemont knew that scaffolding was defective. They'd received complaints about it weeks before. Daniel filed a formal safety report demanding it be replaced." Maya couldn't breathe. "He never told me that." 3 days after he filed that report, he died. The company paid you a small settlement, $20,000, and closed the case quickly. But Mrs. Rodriguez, their insurance should have paid at least 10 times that amount. I think they paid you just enough to make you go away, hoping you wouldn't ask questions." Tears streamed down Maya's face. "Are you saying they killed him?" "I'm saying they were negligent, and your husband died because of it. I'm also saying there's a paper trail suggesting they covered it up." Jennifer leaned forward. "I want to pursue this story, but I need your permission, and I need to warn you, if I'm right, some very powerful people are going to be very angry." Maya thought about Sophia and Daniel, about the life she'd finally built. The smart thing would be to walk away, to let sleeping dogs lie. But she thought about her husband, about Daniel, who'd loved her fiercely, who'd worked himself to exhaustion to provide for their family, who'd filed that safety report knowing it might cost him his job. He'd tried to do the right thing, and it had killed him. "Do it," Maya said firmly. "Tell his story. Whatever it costs, I want the truth." Jennifer nodded. "There's something else you should know. One of Bridgemont's primary investors is the Ashford Family Trust." Maya's blood turned ice. "Richard Ashford?" "His company has significant financial ties to Bridgemont. If this story breaks, it's going to damage his reputation and his portfolio significantly." Maya understood immediately. If she pursued this, Richard Ashford would have even more reason to destroy her. The battle she thought was over would become all-out war. "I don't care,"
Maya said, though her voice shook. "My husband deserves justice." That evening, she told Jackson everything. They sat on her couch after the children were asleep, and she watched his expression grow darker with every word. "Richard Ashford," Jackson said when she finished. "Of course it comes back to him." "I'm sorry," Maya whispered. "I know this is going to cause problems for you, for the company." "Stop," Jackson took her hands. "Maya, your husband was killed because a company cut corners on safety. That's not something to apologize for exposing. It's something to be furious about." "But Richard will retaliate against you, against me." "Let him try." Jackson's voice was steel. "I'm tired of the Ashfords thinking they're untouchable. It's time someone stood up to them." "You could lose everything, Jackson." "Not everything that matters." He cupped her face gently. "Maya, you matter. Your children matter. The truth matters. That's not nothing. That's everything." Maya leaned into him, drawing strength from his certainty. But fear gnawed at her stomach. She'd made an enemy of the Ashford family by simply existing. Now she was about to expose their corruption. What would they do when they had nothing left to lose?
The Phoenix Tribune published Jennifer Chen's exposé on a Monday morning. The headline read, "Built on Blood: How Bridgemont Development's Safety Violations Led to Worker Deaths and a Culture of Cover-Ups." Daniel Rodriguez's story was featured prominently, a dedicated foreman who'd filed safety complaints and died 3 days later when the very equipment he'd warned about failed catastrophically. The article included copies of his safety report, internal company emails discussing how to manage the situation, and evidence of the suspiciously small settlement paid to his widow. By noon, the story had exploded across local news. By evening, national outlets were picking it up. Maya's phone rang non-stop. Reporters wanted interviews. Other Bridgemont widows reached out, sharing their own stories of loved ones lost and settlements that seemed designed to silence rather than compensate. Lawyers called, offering to represent her in a lawsuit against the company. It was overwhelming, terrifying, and vindicating all at once. Jackson stayed by her side through all of it, helping her field calls, protecting her from the media circus while ensuring she had the support she needed. Patricia came over to help with the children while Maya gave a brief statement to the Tribune. Daniel Rodriguez was a good man who tried to do the right thing. He shouldn't have died, and his death shouldn't have been covered up. I'm speaking now for him, for our children, and for every worker whose safety was sacrificed for profit. The video went viral. The Ashfords' response was swift and vicious. By Tuesday morning, Richard Ashford had issued a statement claiming the article was a malicious hit piece orchestrated by a disgruntled former employee's widow and a CEO with a personal vendetta. He denied any knowledge of Bridgemont's safety issues and announced he was suing both the Tribune and Maya for defamation. Catherine Ashford went on a local morning show portraying Maya as a gold digger who'd seduced a billionaire and is now trying to extort money from honest businessmen. And Victoria posted a long thread on social media painting herself as the real victim, claiming Maya had destroyed her career, stolen her fiancé, and now attacking her family's reputation with lies. The narrative was shifting. Half the internet was calling Maya brave, the other half was calling her a liar and a manipulator. On Wednesday morning, Maya arrived at work to find a crowd of protesters outside Pierce Global headquarters. Some carried signs supporting her, "Justice for Daniel Rodriguez" and "Believe Workers." Others held signs attacking her, "Gold Digger" and "Stop the Lies." Security had to escort her through the crowd. Someone spat at her. Someone else shouted that she should be ashamed of herself. Maya made it to her office and collapsed in her chair, shaking. Patricia found her there 20 minutes later. "Maya, Jackson wants to see you."
Those 4 words sent ice through Maya's veins. What's wrong? The board called an emergency meeting this morning. Richard's lawsuit is making investors nervous. Stock prices dropped 3% yesterday. Some major clients are threatening to pull their accounts if we don't distance ourselves from the controversy. Maya felt tears burning her eyes. You want me to resign? No, Jackson's voice was firm, but several board members are demanding it. Douglas called me this morning. They're saying that your continued employment is becoming a liability to the company. They're right, Maya said quietly. Jackson, I can't let you lose everything because of me. You're not losing me anything. Richard Ashford and his corrupt friends are doing this, not you. But I'm the excuse they're using. Maya stood, her decision made. I'll resign. Today. Maybe if I'm gone, things will calm down. Maya, no, listen to me. She faced him, tears streaming down her face. I love you. I think I've loved you since the day you stopped at my banana stand and saw me as a person instead of just a poor woman. But I won't let that love destroy you. Jackson crossed the room in 3 strides and pulled her into his arms. You're not going anywhere, do you hear me? I'm not letting you sacrifice yourself to appease bullies. Then what do we do? Before Jackson could answer, Patricia burst through the door, her face flushed with excitement. Turn on the news, Channel 7, now. Jackson grabbed the remote and switched on the office television. A press conference was playing, and standing at the podium was Mark Brennan, Maya's former supervisor from the law firm. I can't no longer stay silent, Mark was saying, his voice shaking. Maya Rodriguez told the truth about me 3 years ago. I did sexually harass her. I harassed multiple women at the firm, and when she reported it, we destroyed her career to protect mine. The room erupted with questions from reporters. Mark held up his hand. I'm coming forward now because watching how she's being treated, watching powerful people try to destroy her again for telling the truth, I can't live with myself anymore. I have evidence, emails, text messages, recordings, everything that proves Maya was fired for being honest, not for lying. He looked directly into the camera. Maya, if you're watching this, I'm sorry. I'm so deeply sorry for what I did to you and what I let them do to you. You deserved better then, and you deserve better now. The press conference continued, but Maya couldn't hear it over the roaring in her ears. She looked at Jackson, then at Patricia, unable to process what she'd just witnessed. Did that just happen? She whispered. Patricia was grinning through her tears. That just happened. Maya, this changes everything. By that evening, the narrative had shifted again. #IStandWithMaya was trending nationwide. Other women who'd worked at the law firm came forward with their own stories. A coalition of worker safety advocates announced they were launching a campaign to reform construction industry regulations, with Daniel Rodriguez's story at the center. And most importantly, 3 more board members from Bridgemont Development resigned, with one announcing he was cooperating with a federal investigation into safety violations and cover-ups. The tide was turning. Richard Ashford issued a statement withdrawing his lawsuit. The protesters outside Pierce Global disappeared. By Friday, the board members who demanded Maya's resignation were silent. That evening, Jackson came to Maya's apartment with champagne and flowers. We won, he said simply. Maya laughed through her tears. Did we? It doesn't feel real. It's real. You stood up to corruption and won. Daniel's death is going to save lives, Maya, because you were brave enough to tell his story. As they sat on the couch, Sophia and baby Daniel asleep in their rooms, Maya finally let herself believe it. Maybe happy endings were possible after all. But there was still one more chapter to write. 1 year later, Maya's life has transformed beyond recognition, but a surprise proposal and a final confrontation with the Ashfords will determine her ultimate destiny.
1 year later, Maya barely recognized her own life. She'd been promoted to operations manager at Pierce Global, overseeing a team of 12 people. Her salary had increased to $95,000, an amount that still made her dizzy when she thought about it. Sophia was excelling in 5th grade, making honor roll and joining the school choir. Daniel, her miracle baby, was a chubby, happy 1-year-old who just started walking and got into everything. The lawsuit against Bridgemont Development had settled for $2.3 million, not just for Maya, but divided among all the families who'd lost loved ones to the company's negligence. Maya's share was $400,000. She'd put most of it in trust funds for her children, bought a reliable car, and donated $50,000 to worker safety organizations. She'd also purchased a small house, nothing extravagant, but it was hers. 3 bedrooms, a yard where Sophia could play, and a nursery painted sunny yellow where Daniel took his naps. But the biggest change wasn't financial. It was Jackson. He'd become part of their family in ways Maya had never imagined possible. He taught Sophia to ride a bike, he walked the floor with baby Daniel when he had nightmares, he fixed the leaky faucet and assembled furniture, and showed up for every school event and doctor's appointment. He loved them, all of them, not out of pity or obligation, but genuinely, completely. And Maya loved him back with an intensity that sometimes frightened her. They were having dinner at his place, a weekly tradition, when Jackson said he had something to show her. The children were playing in his game room, giving them a moment alone. "I want to take you somewhere this weekend, just the 2 of us. Rosa can watch the kids." "Where?" "It's a surprise, but—" He hesitated, looking nervous in a way she'd never seen before. "I need to ask you something first." Maya's heart started racing. "Okay." Jackson took both her hands. "Maya, this past year with you has been the best year of my life. You challenge me, inspire me, and make me want to be better every single day. Your children have become my children in every way that matters, and I can't imagine my future without all of you in it." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Maya's breath caught. "I know we've been through hell together. I know people will say this is too fast or too complicated. But Maya, I love you with everything I am. Will you marry me?" He opened the box to reveal a simple but stunning diamond ring. Elegant, classic, perfect. Maya stared at it, tears streaming down her face. A year ago, she was selling bananas on street corners, invisible to the world. Now, a man she loved beyond measure was asking her to be his wife. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes." Jackson slipped the ring on her finger and kissed her deeply, both of them laughing and crying at once. They decided to tell the children together. Sophia's reaction was pure joy. She'd been asking when Jackson would officially become her daddy. Baby Daniel, oblivious to the significance, just clapped his hands because everyone else was happy. The engagement announcement made the news, of course. Most reactions were positive. People loved the rags-to-riches romance, the story of a billionaire falling for a struggling single mother. It was the stuff of fairy tales. But not everyone was pleased. 3 days before their engagement party, Catherine Ashford requested a meeting with Maya. Against Jackson's advice, Maya agreed, but only in a public place with Patricia present. They met at an upscale restaurant. Catherine looked immaculate as always, but there was something different about her, a tiredness, maybe even defeat. "I suppose congratulations are in order," Catherine said, her tone impossible to read. "Thank you," Maya said cautiously. Catherine was silent for a long moment, then said something Maya never expected. "I owe you an apology." Maya blinked in surprise. Patricia looked equally shocked. "Richard and I raised Victoria to believe that money and status were the most important things in life.
We taught her that people like you," Catherine's voice caught slightly, "that people who struggled financially were somehow lesser, and that poison destroyed our family." She pulled out her phone and showed them a photo of Victoria in what appeared to be a mugroom. "She was arrested last week. Embezzlement from her new company. She's been charged with felony theft." Maya felt a pang of sympathy despite everything. "I'm sorry." "Don't be. She made her choices." Catherine looked directly at Maya. "I watched you this past year, the way you handled the Bridgemont situation, the way you've conducted yourself with dignity despite everything we put you through. You have something my daughter never learned: integrity." "Mrs. Ashford, please let me finish." Catherine's eyes were wet now. "I destroyed your life 3 years ago when you were fired from that law firm. Richard called in favors, made sure you couldn't get hired anywhere decent. We wanted to punish you for daring to accuse someone in our social circle. And then when you ended up selling fruit on the street, we didn't even think about you again. You were just nothing to us." Maya's hands clenched in her lap. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because you deserved to know the truth, and because I lost my daughter to the values I taught her. But maybe if I can acknowledge what we did wrong, maybe I can start to make amends somehow." She stood to leave, then paused. "Jackson is a good man. You're good for each other. I hope you'll be happy, truly happy. You've earned it." As Catherine walked away, Maya sat in stunned silence. "Did that just happen?" Patricia finally asked. Maya looked at her engagement ring, then at her friend. I think it's really over. The war with the Ashfords, it's actually over. So what happens now?" Maya smiled through her tears. "Now I get to live happily ever after." The wedding day arrives, but an unexpected guest and a shocking revelation will bring everything full circle in the most beautiful way.
The wedding was set for a Saturday in late spring, in the garden of a beautiful estate outside Phoenix. Maya had wanted something small and intimate, just close friends and family, but Jackson's world didn't really do small. In the end, they compromised. 150 guests, elegant but not ostentatious, focusing on the people who actually mattered to them rather than business obligations. The morning of the wedding, Maya stood in her dressing room, staring at herself in the mirror. Her wedding dress was simple ivory silk, fitted through the bodice and flowing into a soft skirt. Nothing like the elaborate gown she'd worn when she married Daniel. That wedding had been rushed, done at City Hall with borrowed clothes because they couldn't afford anything else. This time was different. Everything was different. "Mama, you look like a princess," Sophia exclaimed, twirling in her flower girl dress, lavender silk with a white sash. "You look beautiful, Mija," Rosa said, tears in her eyes. She'd become like a mother to Maya over the past few years, and today she'd walk Maya down the aisle in place of the parents Maya had lost. Patricia bustled in, looking stunning in her maid of honor dress. 5 minutes until we start. Are you ready?" Maya took a deep breath. "I'm ready." As she walked through the garden towards the ceremony space, she could hear the string quartet playing. The garden was transformed. White flowers everywhere, elegant chairs arranged in rows, an arch covered in roses, where Jackson waited. And then she saw him, standing at the altar in his tuxedo, and her breath caught. He looked nervous, excited, and completely in love. The music changed to the wedding march. Sophia walked down the aisle first, scattering petals with serious concentration. Then baby Daniel, carried by Jackson's best man, one of his college friends, reaching toward his mother with outstretched arms. Then it was Maya's turn. She walked slowly on Rosa's arm, her eyes locked on Jackson's. With each step, she thought about the journey that had brought her here, the poverty, the struggle, the loss, the fear,
and finally, against all odds, the love. When she reached the altar, Jackson took her hands, his eyes shining with unshed tears. "You're beautiful," he whispered. "You're not so bad yourself," she whispered back, making them both smile. The ceremony was perfect, short, meaningful, focused on the promises they were making to each other. When it came time for vows, Jackson spoke first. "Maya, the day I met you, you taught me something I'd forgotten. That character matters more than credentials, that integrity is more valuable than any resume. You showed me what true strength looks like. It looks like you, working tirelessly for your children. It looks like you refusing to compromise your values, even when it would be easier. It looks like you, standing up to powerful people who tried to destroy you." His voice caught. "I promise to be worthy of you. I promise to protect our family, to love your children as my own, and to spend every day showing you that you made the right choice." Maya's tears flowed freely as she began her vows. "Jackson, you saw me when I was invisible. You valued me when I felt worthless. You gave me not just a job, but dignity, hope, and a future. You loved my children when you didn't have to. You stood by me when it would have been easier to walk away." She squeezed his hands. "I promise to build a life with you based on the values we both believe in: honesty, kindness, and integrity. I promise to be your partner in all things, and I promise that I'll never forget where I came from, because that journey brought me to you." There wasn't a dry eye in the audience. When the officiant pronounced them husband and wife and Jackson kissed her, the crowd erupted in applause. As they walked back down the aisle together, Maya felt like she was floating. The reception was beautiful. Dinner under twinkling lights, heartfelt toasts from Patricia and Jackson's college friends, and dancing under the stars. Sophia danced with Jackson, standing on his feet while he twirled her around. Baby Daniel fell asleep in Maya's arms as she swayed to a slow song. But the most surprising moment came midway through the reception. Maya was greeting guests when she saw a woman standing at the entrance, alone, unsure, out of place among the elegantly dressed crowd. She was young, maybe early 20s, dressed in a simple sundress, clutching a small envelope. Patricia noticed her too. "I'll handle it." "No," Maya said softly. "I'll go." She approached the woman carefully. "Hello, are you looking for someone?" The woman looked up, and Maya saw tears in her eyes. "Are you Maya? Maya Rodriguez? Maya Pierce?" "Yes. My name is Carmen Delgado. I came from the East Side. I heard about your story, about how you were selling fruit on the street and someone gave you a chance, and She was crying now. "I'm sorry, I shouldn't have come. I know I wasn't invited, but I wanted to meet you, to see that it's possible." Maya's heart clenched. She saw herself in this young woman, the desperation, the hope, the fear. "What do you do, Carmen?" Maya asked gently. "I sell flowers on the corner of 5th and Madison. Have been 2 years since my mom got sick. I have a high school diploma, but no one will hire me because I don't have experience, and I can't get experience because no one will hire me." Maya understood that trap all too well. She took Carmen's hand. "Stay, have dinner with us, and on Monday, come to my office at Pierce Global Investments. I'm gonna need an assistant." Carmen's eyes went wide. "Are you serious?" "I'm serious. Someone gave me a chance when I needed it most. Now, it's my turn to do the same for someone else." Carmen burst into tears and hugged Maya tightly. Thank you so much." As Maya led Carmen into the reception, she caught Jackson's eye across the crowd. He smiled at her, that warm, proud smile that said he understood exactly what she just did and why. They'd started something more than a marriage today. They'd started a legacy. Later,
After most guests had left and the children were asleep in a nearby suite, Jackson and Maya stood alone in the garden, holding each other under the stars. "Mrs. Pierce," Jackson murmured. "How does it feel?" "Like a dream," Maya admitted. "Like any minute I'm gonna wake up selling bananas again." "It's not a dream. It's real. We're real." He kissed her softly. "And you know what the best part is?" "What?" "This is just the beginning." Maya leaned into him, feeling safe and loved and hopeful for the first time in longer than she could remember. He was right. This was just the beginning, and it was gonna be beautiful. 5 years later, Maya's life has come full circle in the most unexpected way. The final chapter will leave you inspired.
Maya stood at the podium in the Pierce Foundation auditorium, looking out at the sea of young women from all walks of life, each with their own story of struggle and survival. Some sold fruit like she once did. Others worked as housekeepers, waitresses, or day laborers. All of them shared one thing. They'd been overlooked, dismissed, told they'd never amount to anything. Today, they were here for the graduation ceremony of the Phoenix Opportunity Program, an initiative Maya had founded 3 years ago to provide job training, education, and placement services for women from disadvantaged backgrounds. 5 years ago, Maya began, her voice steady and strong. I was standing on a street corner, 7 months pregnant, selling bananas to feed my daughter. I'd lost my husband, my career, and nearly lost my hope. I thought I knew what my life would be, an endless cycle of survival, just barely getting by. She paused, seeing her own past reflected in the eyes of the women before her. But then someone saw me, not as a charity case, not as a statistic, but as a person with potential. My husband, Jackson Pierce, gave me a chance when no one else would, and that chance changed everything. Not just for me, but for my children, and now, hopefully, for all of you. The auditorium was silent, every woman hanging on her words. Today, 75 women are graduating from this program, 75 women who were told they weren't qualified enough, educated enough, or worthy enough. But here's what I learned. Worthiness isn't something someone else gives you, it's something you claim for yourself. Maya smiled. You've all completed 6 months of intensive training. You've learned new skills, built your confidence, and proven to yourselves and to the employers waiting to hire you that you are capable of extraordinary things. She looked toward the back of the auditorium, where Jackson stood with Sophia, now 13, and already talking about following in Maya's footsteps, and Daniel, a rambunctious 5-year-old who never stopped asking questions. Beside them stood the 3 children she and Jackson had adopted over the past 4 years, siblings who'd been in foster care and needed a family. My life didn't turn out the way I expected. It turned out better. Not because I stopped struggling, but because I found people who believed struggling was worth it, who believed I was worth it. She gestured to the rows of employers sitting in the front section, business owners, managers, and HR directors who'd committed to hiring you, training you further, and giving you real careers with real futures. Some of you will work in offices, some in healthcare, some in technology. Some will start your own businesses. In 5 years from now, maybe you'll be standing where I am, telling your story to the next group of women who need to hear it. The applause started small, but built into a standing ovation. Maya felt tears prick her eyes. They came easier these days, especially when she thought about how far she'd come. After the ceremony, Maya mingled with the graduates, shaking hands and offering encouragement. One young woman approached her shyly, Carmen Delgado, who'd crashed her wedding 5 years ago. But Carmen wasn't the struggling flower seller anymore. She'd worked as Maya's assistant for 2 years, then gone back to school at night, and now ran the day-to-day operations of the Phoenix Opportunity Program. We did it, Carmen said, hugging Maya tightly. Another successful graduation. You did it, Maya corrected. This program works because of people like you who pour their hearts into it. I learned from the best.
Carmen handed her a folder. "Speaking of which, we have a new applicant I think you should meet personally." Maya opened the folder and felt her breath catch. The application was from a young woman named Alicia Brennan, and in the section asking how she'd heard about the program, she'd written, "My father, Mark Brennan, told me about Maya Pierce before he died. He said she was the bravest person he'd ever met, and that I should never be afraid to do the right thing, no matter the cost." Maya looked up at Carmen with tears in her eyes. "Mark Brennan passed away?" "6 months ago, cancer. But apparently, he spent his last years volunteering with worker safety organizations and speaking at companies about the importance of believing harassment victims. His daughter says he completely changed after his public confession about what he did to you." Maya closed the folder carefully. People can change, even people who'd hurt her deeply. Mark Brennan had spent his final years trying to make amends, trying to be better. "Schedule her for an interview next week," Maya said softly. "I'd like to meet her personally." That evening, the Pierce family gathered in their home, the beautiful house Jackson had built for them 3 years ago, with enough bedrooms for all 5 kids and a library because Maya had developed a passion for reading once she'd had time for it. Over dinner, a chaotic affair with 5 kids of various ages, Jackson raised his glass. "I'd like to make a toast to Maya, whose program just graduated the 300th woman. To our amazing children, who've taught me that family isn't just about biology, it's about love. And to this life we've built together, which proves that miracles happen to those who refuse to give up." "Even for pregnant banana sellers?" Maya teased, her eyes sparkling. "Especially for pregnant banana sellers who choose integrity over survival." Jackson leaned over and kissed her. "You changed my life, you know. I was successful before I met you, but I wasn't fulfilled, not really. You taught me what actually matters." Sophia groaned dramatically. "Dad, we're eating. No mushy stuff, please." Everyone laughed, and the moment of sentimentality passed, but Maya held it close to her heart. Later, after the kids